Every story you're about to hear is a doorway. Once you step inside, there's no turning back. These are not fairy tales. These are confessions, consequences, and the quiet moments where everything changes. Listen closely, because some stories aren't meant to be told. They're meant to be felt. So our first story is, I Got Her Fur. Ed. The moment the HR director's screen flickered open, revealing the contents of the Project Phoenix folder, I knew there was no going back. I sat 3 seats away from her, inside the glass-walled conference room, watching fluorescent lights glint off the professional mask. She had worn it flawlessly for years. She was the star of the department, the one everyone called the fixer, the problem solver, the closer. And I was the one who stayed until 10 at night, making sure her grand vision actually had data behind it. We were a team, at least. That's what I believed, until I found the private Slack channel, the one where she had been quietly documenting my failures, one by one, carefully, methodically, making sure I stayed exactly where I was, under her thumb, doing her work, while she collected the bonuses. Is there an issue with the quarterly projections? She asked, smooth, confident, that slight tilt of her head, the signal she was about to take control of the room. The HR director didn't look up, didn't react, didn't blink. He just kept scrolling through the PDF I had anonymously uploaded an hour earlier. It wasn't a project update. It wasn't feedback. It wasn't a warning. It was a map. 3 years of corporate espionage, padded expense accounts, quiet manipulation, and a trail of strategic leaks to our biggest competitor. Leaks that always seemed to line up perfectly with her receiving another stock option grant. Something cold twisted in my chest, sharp, jagged, because I had helped her hide the bodies, metaphorically speaking. I believed her when she said we were building an empire together. I loved her with blind loyalty, desperate loyalty, the kind that ignores the smell of smoke until the house is already gone. Then I found the email, the one she sent to the CEO just last week, recommending my position be phased out due to redundancy. She wasn't just my mentor. She wasn't just my boss. She was the woman I shared my bed with for 2 years, the one who whispered about our future late at night, the one who said, once we went public, we could finally stop hiding from a board. The projections are fine, the director finally said, his voice rough, like gravel. It's the integrity of the data source we're concerned with. He paused. Specifically, the funds used for client entertainment. In Aruba, last October, he stopped scrolling. You were there, weren't you? The silence pressed in, hard, heavy, unforgiving. Her eyes flicked toward me, just for a second. Pure fear, raw, primal. Then it vanished, buried under confusion, under denial. She didn't know I knew about Aruba. She thought I was at home, taking care of her dog, while she was out there, securing the future. I'm not sure what you're implying, she said, but the iron was gone. Her voice was hollow, exposed. I looked down at the folder on the table. It held more than numbers, more than receipts, more than files. It held the heart of a woman who traded love for a promotion, and I was about to make sure. The exchange rate was devastating. The HR director, a man named Miller, with the emotional range of a stone gargoyle, slowly turned the monitor toward her. The screen filled with the Aruba expense reports, line after line, transaction after transaction. But I had gone further. I had cross-referenced the so-called client meetings with social media posts from the rival firm's chief operating officer. The timestamps lined up perfectly, too perfectly, for one heartbeat. The only sound was the HVAC system, low, constant, uncaring. Then she did exactly what I knew she would. She didn't crumble. She weaponized. This is a fabrication. Her voice rose, sharp, righteous, practiced. She turned her chair toward me, eyes wide, wet, trembling. A masterclass in performative betrayal. Miller, I didn't want to bring this up, but I've been concerned. For months. She paused, just long enough for sympathy to form. About the mental state of my assistant, she exhaled softly, like this hurt her to say. We had a brief lapse in judgment. Unprofessional. A relationship. Since I tried to end it, the behavior became erratic. The stalking. The accessing of my private accounts. I believe these documents are a desperate act of revenge. The room tilted. Heat climbed up my neck. Not from shame, but from the sheer audacity. She wasn't just throwing me under the bus. She was driving it over me, then reversing, just to be sure. She reached into her bag, pulled out a physical folder. Manila. Prepared. Waiting. She slid it across the table toward Miller. These are logs, showing after-hours access. To my workstation, she lowered her voice, almost a whisper. I was trying to protect them, handle it internally, but the obsession, it's gone too far. Miller looked at me, his brow tightening. The tide was turning. In the corporate world, a jilted lover with a technical grudge is easier to believe than a senior executive acting as a double agent. I looked at her. She gave me a tiny smirk, barely visible, perfectly intentional. The one she used after winning a negotiation. It said, "I built you, and I can break you." But she underestimated one thing. I wasn't just her assistant. I wasn't just her lover. I was her shadow. I knew how she thought, how she planned, how she hid. I knew about the burnt phone, hidden in the false bottom of her desk drawer. The phone she used for the very meetings she was now blaming on me. "Miller," I finally spoke. My voice was steady, even as my heart slammed, like a trap bird. If I were as unstable as she claims, as obsessed, I probably would have done something reckless, like setting up a remote mirror of her work phone, so every message, every text, is automatically archived on the company's backup server. Her smirk vanished. The color drained from her face. So fast, it was unreal. "You didn't," she whispered. "I didn't have to," I said, leaning forward. "The company policy she signed 3 years ago already authorizes continuous monitoring of all firm devices." I just pointed IT in the right direction. "This morning, Miller, check the server logs. For Project Phoenix, specifically, the messages from last night, sent at 11:45, Miller's fingers flew across the keyboard. As the logs began to scroll, the room went cold. There they were, black and white, undeniable. The text she sent to the rival firm's COO while lying in bed next to me. "The redundancy plan for the redundant lover is in motion. By Friday, the data will be yours, and the liability will be unemployed." The silence in the conference room changed. It wasn't heavy anymore. It was clinical, like a morgue. Miller didn't look at her, not even once. He didn't need to. The screen told the story for him, scrolling, endless, unforgiving. Every secret she had whispered into the dark, believing no one was listening. She looked smaller now. The sharp lines of her blazer, once powerful, once precise, now looked like a costume, one that didn't fit. Her hands were tucked beneath the table, out of sight, but I saw the tremor, in her shoulders, in her breath. "This is private communication," she said. The words echoed, hollow, like shouting into a canyon. "This violates my civil rights. You can't use this. The company owns the device, the network, and the secrets you put on it." Miller's voice was flat, empty, merciless. He pressed a button on his desk. The heavy oak doors clicked shut, motorized, final. "But the company isn't the only one interested in your private communications." Sarah, her eyes widened. That's when she realized. He hadn't called security. He had called legal. Behind the tinted observation glass, 2 men stood waiting. Dark suits, no expressions. They didn't look like corporate lawyers. They looked like men who spent their lives in windowless rooms, in Washington, tracking money, across borders. Aruba wasn't just a vacation, I said. My voice cut through her panic. And strangely, I felt grief. Detached, distant. I remember how she used to laugh when we were alone, how she made me believe we were the only 2 people that mattered. That woman was gone. She was a ghost, a character, a role she played to keep me compliant. It was the drop-off point. I continued. You weren't just selling data to competitors. You were front-running acquisitions. You knew which companies we'd buy before the board did, and you used their capital to buy in first. You don't know what you're talking about, she hissed, but her eyes betrayed her, darting, calculating, searching for exits. I know about the offshore account in the Caymans, the one named Icarus, a bit on the nose, don't you think? You used my social security number to open the secondary access line. You thought if everything collapsed, the trail would lead to me, the obsessed assistant, with access to all your files. I stood up and walked toward her. For 2 years, I anticipated her every need. Her coffee order, her calendar habits, her favorite lies. I helped keep her world spinning. But there was one thing I never told her. Not once, not even in bed. I spent my college years in digital forensics. I wasn't just her assistant. I was the most overqualified auditor she would ever meet. I didn't just point IT to the server. I whispered, leaning close, so only she could hear. I sent a mirror drive of the Icarus transactions to the SEC. 3 days ago, they've already frozen the accounts. The money you planned to disappear with. It's gone. You aren't just getting fired, you're becoming a federal case study. She finally looked at me, and for the first time, I saw her. Not the mentor, not the lover, not the executive, just the void. No love, no regret, no anger, only calculation. You think you're the hero. She spat, her voice low, venomous, crawling. You sat on my bed and helped plan the projections. You're just as dirty as I am. If I go down, I'm taking you with me. I have the recordings. You remember, I'll say you were the mastermind. I'll say you coerced me. I didn't flinch. I just looked at her, watching the desperate, jagged edges of her ego, trying to find a foothold in a room that was shrinking, minute by minute. She was still playing the game of mutual destruction, the strategy she used for a decade to keep people afraid and obedient, but she was playing with old rules. And I had rewritten the playbook. You really should have read the fine print of the Whistleblower Protection Act before you used my name on your offshore accounts. My voice echoed in the sterile silence of the room. I didn't just send files to the SEC. I walked into the Department of Justice. Monday morning, I spent 6 hours there, giving a sworn deposition. I turned over everything, every email, every recording, every instance of coercion. The color drained from her face, again, leaving her gray, sallow, hollow. I'm a protected witness. Sarah, by the time I walked into this meeting, I already had full immunity. You could say I was the mastermind. You could say I pulled the strings. But they have the data. They have the logs. Logs showing the logins. From your private residence. From your private laptop. Well, I was clocked in. At the office. 3 towns away. The obsessed lover doesn't have an alibi. The diligent assistant has a paper trail. Miller stood up. He looked at her with disgust. Final. Absolute. He didn't say a word. He just gestured toward the men behind the glass. The heavy oak doors opened. 2 federal agents stepped inside. One of them held handcuffs. Cold steel, glinting under fluorescent lights. Sarah Jennings, the lead agent said, his voice flat, inevitable, like a heart monitor. You are under arrest for wire fraud, insider trading, and identity theft. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just sat there. As they pulled her arms back, the cuffs clicked shut. The sound felt final, like punctuation, at the end of her career. As they led her away, she stopped beside me. She looked at me, eyes empty, the void complete. You'll never work in this industry again, she whispered. A final curse. Weak. Pathetic. You've blacklisted yourself. Nobody hires a snitch. I'm not looking for a job here anymore, I said. I met her eyes. Didn't blink. I don't like the view from the top, when it's built on people like you. And actually, the SEC whistleblower program pays a percentage based on the Icarus accounts. I think I'll be just fine. I might even take that trip to Aruba. Alone. I watched them lead her away. down the long hallway, carpeted, quiet. I watched her silhouette disappear into the elevator. The doors closed on the life she stole. Lie by lie. Miller turned to me. "You did a brave thing," he said. "A dangerous thing, but you're right. You're done here. I'll have your belongings sent to your home." I nodded. I walked out and didn't look back. Outside, cold air filled my lungs. For the first time in 2 years, I had lost the person I thought I loved, but I found the person I actually was. She thought she fired me, but I promoted myself to a position she could never reach. A person with a conscience. She thought my loyalty was a weakness, but it dismantled her empire, piece by piece. When you build a life on lies, the person holding the truth is the most dangerous person in the room. Have you ever had to choose between your career and your soul? Before we continue, take a breath, because the next story isn't about betrayal at work. It's about what happens when the person you trust most decides your life is expendable. This story is about how he blackmailed me. The flash of the camera was instant. So fast, I almost convinced myself it was just faulty wiring. A glitch, a mistake. But the look on his face told me everything. The trap had snapped shut. I was standing in the center of the suite. The air was thick, with lilies, with expensive cologne. Suddenly, it felt like a funeral. He wasn't looking at me, not the way he used to, not with the adoration he had perfected over 6 months. He was looking at his phone, thumb hovering over a send button, a button that could erase my career before sunrise. "It's a beautiful shot," he whispered, his voice smooth, like silk, just as cold. The lighting captures the desperation perfectly. I think the board of directors will find it enlightening, especially with your firm's new morality clause regarding executive conduct. The blood drained from my face. Cold, hollow, spreading outward. I wasn't a rising star anymore. I was a target. Every secret I had whispered during wine-soaked nights, project delays, corner cutting, environmental shortcuts, even my doubts about the CEO, all of it, now ammunition. He hadn't been my boyfriend. He was a vacuum, professional, methodical, sucking up every vulnerability until he had enough to build a cage. "What do you want?" I asked. My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. He didn't hesitate. "The encryption keys for the Gallagher account, and I want them by midnight. If I don't have them, this photo goes out, and a recording of you admitting to shredding documents. Last spring, every major news outlet in the city. You'll be lucky if you're only unemployed. More likely, you'll be wearing a jumpsuit that matches that orange sunset you like so much." He walked toward me, every step deliberate, predatory. My skin crawled. He reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, a gesture that once meant safety. Now it felt like a threat. I looked into his eyes, searching for anything familiar, anything human. There was nothing. Only calculation, only greed, cold, commercial. Every smile had been fake, every touch rehearsed, every "I love you," a transaction. He hadn't loved me. He had infiltrated me. Then I understood. I had 2 choices. I could give him the keys, become his puppet for the rest of my life, or I could do something so morally reprehensible, even he wouldn't see it coming. He thought he was the only one who knew how to play dirty. But he forgot something. He forgot who taught me how to survive in a corporate shark tank. The silence in the suite stretched out, thick, suffocating. I watched him stare at the screen, admiring his own handiwork. He looked satisfied, certain, convinced, certain he had finally broken me, the woman everyone called unbreakable. I let my shoulders slump. I let one shaky breath escape. A performance, carefully calculated. Men like him don't just want to win. They want to watch the light die, right behind your eyes. "The Gallagher keys," I whispered. My hands trembled as I pulled my laptop from my bag. "You know what they'll do to me if they find out? That account is the backbone of the firm. If those files go public, the stock will crater. Then you'd better make sure nobody finds out, he said. He sat on the edge of the bed, crossed his legs, relaxed, victorious. Don't look so tragic. Think of it as a fresh start. Once the keys are mine, you're free. I'll delete the file, and we'll go our separate ways. I might even leave you a little severance. I didn't look at him. I looked at the screen. My fingers moved fast, precise, controlled. He thought it was panic. It wasn't. I wasn't just pulling the keys. I was opening a backdoor protocol, one I built months ago, as a failsafe for the firm's most sensitive data. I was creating a ghost file, a perfect replica, identical in every way, but poisoned. Hidden code woven deep, inside the metadata. If he opened it, transferred it, or even kept it on a connected device, the file would wake up, silently, invisibly, broadcasting everything. Every server it touched, every IP address, every physical location, every credential. But most importantly, it would search for his employer's signature. There, I said. I slid the laptop toward him. It's a secure transfer. You'll need your hardware key to authorize it. Once it's on your drive, the Gallagher account is yours. He leaned forward. His eyes lit up with pure hunger, the kind only greed creates. He pulled a flash drive from his pocket. High-end, specialized, definitely not freelancer tech. He plugged it in. The progress bar appeared. Crawling, slow, cruel. My heart pounded, wild, unforgiving. You're a smart girl, he murmured. His thumb tapped the desk as the bar hit 90%. It's a shame. Really, we had a good run. If you hadn't been so obsessed with that morality clause, we could have built something. We did build something, I said, my voice hard, cold. The bar clicked to complete. We built a record. He laughed. Sharp, barking, ugly. He pulled the drive. Didn't even look at me. The boyfriend mask was gone. He had the prize, the keys, the kingdom. He thought he was rich. The door clicked shut behind him. Silence returned. That's when I reached inside my blazer. A hidden pocket. I pulled out my phone. The screen was already live. A city map, glowing softly. A single red dot, moving, steadily, toward the financial district. The red dot moved. Cold, mechanical, weaving through late-night traffic, deep inside the financial district. I followed. 3 blocks behind him. My car idled. Low, predatory. The engine hummed, like it was waiting. My hands clenched the steering wheel. Knuckles white, rigid. The dashboard glow painted my skin. Dim, unforgiving. I wasn't tracking a blackmailer anymore. I was following betrayal. And it felt bigger, deeper. Bigger than one man. Bigger than greed. The dot stopped. Not a luxury apartment. Not a hotel. Concrete. Brutalist. Anonymous. Apex Global. Our most ruthless competitor. A chill crawled up my spine. Apex didn't compete. They liquidated. If he was here, he wasn't a freelancer. He was an operative. I pulled into a dark alley. Across the street. Binoculars raised. Watching. He stepped out of his car. Adjusted his jacket. That same arrogant flick. The one he used when he said he loved me. He didn't look around. Why would he? He thought he'd already won. He reached the side entrance. Keycard swiped. Green light pulsed. Then he vanished. Inside. Come on, I whispered. You bastard. My eyes dropped to the tablet. The code woke up. The parasite screamed. Data flooded the screen. The drive was live. Plugged into an Apex workstation. Directories unfolded. Then I froze. The file didn't just connect. It triggered a response. An automated message. A simple line. Thank you. Addressed to an internal Apex email. Not anonymous. Not hidden. A name. One I knew by heart. My CEO. My mentor. The man who signed my morality clause. The man who sat beside me at my father's funeral. The man who called me family. The impact hit. Hard. Physical. The blackmail wasn't freelance. It was choreographed. A controlled collapse. Gallagher sold. Stock tanked. Bought back cheap. Through shell companies. And I was the cover. My boyfriend. My handler. I wasn't the target. I was the fall guy. The unstable executive. The scandal. The leaked photos. The shredded documents. The perfect distraction. My phone vibrated. A text. The files are verified. The photo is deleted. Don't come to work tomorrow. Consider yourself lucky. I stared at the message. Then at the building, where my life's work was being sold. By the people I trusted. Fear burned away. Something hotter replaced it. They chose the wrong victim. The girl who followed rules. The girl who cared too much. They forgot one thing. When you take everything, a woman has nothing left to lose. And that's when she's most dangerous. The red dot on my tablet didn't move. It stayed still, locked inside the Apex Global building. A digital heartbeat, marking the exact location of my execution. I sat in my car, wrapped in darkness. The air smelled like stale coffee and cold metal, the scent of a life being dismantled. They were in there, right now, my boyfriend, and the representatives of the man I once called a mentor, clinking glasses, celebrating, over a drive full of poison. They believed they had written the ending. They believed my career was over. But they misunderstood one thing. They misunderstood me. I didn't call the police. I didn't call the board. Because in a world where the CEO owns the board, and the evidence is already rigged, the only way to win is to break the board itself. I opened my laptop. The master file waited. The real Gallagher files. Not the trap. Not the decoy. For 3 years, I guarded these secrets. Like children, I hid the rot. I smoothed the lies. Because I believed we were the good guys. I see it clearly now. This wasn't strategy. It was sociopathy. A map, drawn in data. My hand was steady. I attached the files. Not just the finances. The recordings. His voice, demanding the keys. The GPS logs. His car, outside the CEO's estate. Again, and again, and again. The thank you protocol. A perfect mirror, leading straight back to my CEO. You want a morality play? I whispered. Let's give the world a show. My finger hovered. Then I sent it. Not to one journalist. To all of them. Every major outlet. Every federal regulator. And for justice. Pure. Poetic. I dropped the link. Inside the company's Slack. 5,000 employees asleep. Unaware their futures were being sold for parts. 10 minutes later, the world woke up. My phone screamed. Calls, texts, alerts. The CEO, the boyfriend, security. I ignored them all. I stepped out of the car and walked toward Apex. He came out first, but not like before. No confidence, no grace, just panic. Blue light shaking his face. The drive clenched in his hand. Useless now. He saw me. Stopped. What did you do? He gasped. The files are everywhere. The CEO called. He says the feds are at his house. I did what you taught me. I said, calm, frozen. I found a liability, and I removed it. You were right. The photo was beautiful, but the mug shot, the one they take in 20 minutes, that will be my favorite. He stepped forward, anger flashing. Then he froze. 2 black SUVs. Silent. Unmistakable. He understood. Too late. You're going down too. He spat. You leaked the files. I'm a whistleblower. I said. One who exposed a multi-billion-dollar conspiracy. I'll take the fine. I'll take the sentence. But I'll keep my name. You'll be a footnote. The agents arrived. They took the drive. Pressed him against the car. Lights bloomed across Apex. Floor by floor. Panic spreading. Like a virus. I walked away. Before the cuffs clicked. I didn't need the ending. I wrote it. 6 months. I lived in his script. Tonight, I finished the chapter. In my story. The good girl survives, then burns the theater down and walks away, lit by fire. They tried to use my heart to control my head. They forgot something. A woman with nothing left to lose is the most dangerous person on the payroll. When your mentor holds the match, you'd better hold the extinguisher. Have you ever realized the person guiding you was the one holding you back? Tell your stories. Like, subscribe. Until next time, watch your back and never, ever give up your keys.